gonna be honest with you, science is boring. But not here.
Thank you for joining ClinArk Talks. Today's guest is Quentin Watson. Thank you, Quentin, for joining today. I really appreciate it. We talked some weeks ago. I found out that you were actually in a COVID-19 trial, so I figured it would be good to get your perspective.
Sure.
If you don't mind, would you please just give everyone a little background on yourself, and then we can dive into some of the questions that I have for you.
Sure. I have actually been a human resource professional for the past 21 years. Graduated from Mercer University here in Atlanta, where I finished my undergrad degree in organizational leadership. And then I did my master's in HR. After working in HR for several years in large Fortune 500 organizations, I decided to move into more of a mission-focused organization, and that was a large healthcare organization. From there, I learned a lot about healthcare. When I tell you a plethora of new terms, I would say Grey's Anatomy situations, just everything you could possibly imagine was put in front of me. But at the same time, one of the things I was admiring about healthcare is that they required every person who worked in the facility to have a flu shot requirement. The only way you could get out of that is if you unfortunately had an egg allergy or you had a religious belief, at which point nowadays they can still take care of that with a bioengineered product similar to the one that I received for the COVID shot. So I'm a huge supporter of healthcare organizations. This isn't my first rodeo with an actual trial. I actually joined a Pfizer study in 2007, at which point I was flown from Atlanta to France on a private jet that Oprah owned, and we tested a jet lag drug. We were there for 4 days. You were tested every day. You received a placebo or you received the real deal. And trust me, when you received the real deal, you knew it because you stayed up. If you didn't, you fell asleep, you knew you were okay. And I'm a good sleeper, so it took like that to go to sleep. And it was interesting. They put you on a special diet, including horse, which I will tell you is quite not as tasteful as you may think it would be. It was kind of disgusting there. And then they had other little menu items on that were just kind of like, really what? But it was nice. Once I flew back, I received a $3,000 check. And at the time, they were an actual client of mine because I worked at ADP. I was their actual HR department, and they asked me to be a part of the study. So for me, it was helpful because not only get a chance to see exactly, why they're in business, I kind of got a good idea of, what type of employees they're going to be looking for, what type of employees they're willing to retain, what their business model was, what their structure was. So for me, it was an overall good experience. But one I probably won't do again, not going all the way to France to test a drug. That's not going to happen. But this one right here in Atlanta was just fine.
I bet. I mean, the plane sounds nice. The
plane was excellent. It was open.
Sounds nice.
Oh man, it was open.
The meal, not so much.
Oh, but this is what they did. When you got on the jet, they wine and dine you. Oh, you got the 5-star meal. You were good on the jet. You were like, yo. They were like, relax, put your seat back, touching the wood grain. You were eating this little, all this deli meat that was boar's head, and you're like, oh, olives. This was great. You get off the plane, you're like, what?
Like,
yeah.
How do you feel in terms of COVID-19? How do you feel about the drug development process? Like, does it?
I could barely hear you there.
Sorry, I said in terms of COVID-19, like the drug development process, hearing all the news, all that good stuff. How do you feel?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you that I feel really good about the process because I did my research before I actually joined the study. For me, it feels really good to know that this type of bioengineered product has been in development for several years. For me, it was almost like if you use the scientific method, it makes more sense that I should probably be one of the first ones who takes the drug because I had all the comorbidities. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't catch the virus. B, I just want to make sure that I'm able to be a huge supporter of the product, meaning I don't want people to fear it. I want people to embrace it. And also, I'll tell you that I definitely wanted to see what would happen. I wanted to be under observation when I got the shot. instead of just receiving the shot in line with 2,000 people, and you don't get any observation, you don't know what's going on, nobody's calling you to check on you. In this particular study, if you get sick at all, they're calling you within 5 minutes. The doctor talked to me just yesterday when I gave my blood for antibodies, and he talked to me at great length about all of the symptoms I had after I got the first and second shot. So I felt more comfortable, moving in the first wave than waiting. And also, I know what's going to happen now. As an HR professional, I can have somebody come back to me and say, you know what, I went and got the COVID shot. It took me 3 hours. My boss is mad, but they don't understand. I'm like, hey, don't worry, because I know what it's like. Because guess what? It's going to take a half hour for the shot to thaw out. It's stored at 90 below zero. So I feel good about it.
Good. Okay, I like that. I think you may inspire some people.
I got people already calling today. So they told me yesterday, this is the last wave before we go and get that FDA approval. Dr. Fauci's getting the data in a couple of weeks, and I'm in the Pfizer trials. It's the exact same one that he's going to get. Oh yeah.
Right. Oh, they're gonna love this thing. They might share this video.
Oh really? Well, it's nice to be a part of history.
So how did you learn about the trial, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I knew about it from watching CNN, and when I heard about the Moderna trial, that's the one I originally wanted to get in. So I was doing everything I possibly could for like 30 days to figure out how can I find this information about the Moderna trial. So I went on Facebook, and then I just started asking questions to people. Anybody seen that shot? Anybody know what's going on? And the minute I started saying I want the COVID shot, all of a sudden I started seeing advertisements for people to join a participant study. One of the things I learned about Facebook early on is that Facebook is a marketing algorithm.
Yes.
And if you say the key words correctly, you'll get what you want.
Oh yeah.
You just have to know what you're saying. And I even had people inboxing me, hey, here you go. So there you go. It went from there. And then a week after I started the Pfizer study, guess who called? Moderna. They wanted me to go over to Emory and do it.
Man.
I'm like, that, but I'm glad I didn't do the Moderna study. So this actually worked out better.
So was trust ever a factor, like, in your decision? Like,
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And the reason why it was the biggest factor, because I knew who Pfizer was. I knew that they are a company that's reputable. I've been through their legal process. I signed off on their legal documents before. I was sworn to secrecy. I knew the process. When you can kind of trust the process and didn't have any problems before, you kind of say, okay, I probably won't have any problems this time. And I was really happy that I looked at their stock, and their stock started to rise as soon as they started to make the announcements about mass production of the shot. And then at that point, I'm thinking, okay, if this company is going from like $29 a share to $37 a share, I know for a fact that this company is not going to do anything to harm people. And if they did, they're willing to risk it all. And Pfizer's not going to do that. Neither will Moderna, neither will Johnson & Johnson or AstraZeneca.
Right, absolutely. So did you feel that the tools used to inform you prior to consent were helpful or contributed to your decision to participate? So, like, in terms of the informed consent process, did the tools that they use help you, make your decision?
I think my decision was pretty much made before I got there because I'm educated.
Right.
But I can tell you that it would take a relaxation technique for most people to go in there and go through that.
Yes, I would figure that your prior experience would kind of like soften the blow a little bit.
It did. It softened the entire blow. But for somebody who's new to this and somebody who's mistrustful, we've had Tuskegee experiment. We've had issues with the military. We've had all types of issues to deal with that have caused detriment to our bodies, which is the most important thing that we can possibly possess. So, yeah, I can totally understand why people would be concerned. But at the end of the day, I'm also thinking about my son. My son is 11. I know I had all the comorbidities. And I also know that, I'm a type A blood type. So during this whole process, I actually learned, I said, let me figure out what my blood type is. And based upon all those things, I was social distancing to the heck of not even being around anybody. I mean, this extroverted guy was totally introverted,
right? Which
was fine. Trust me. I'm okay with that. But at the same time, you got to know where your nature is and when your breaking point is going to come. And I knew that, I got to start doing something because eventually this breakout moment is going to happen. And I don't want to make that one mistake. I talked to one of my buddies. he made the mistake of, social distancing the whole time up to like, August. And finally he went to the club. I called him. I'm like, what's wrong, man? Oh, man, I got it.
Oh, man. Is
He
he
caught
okay?
it. He was good. I mean, this is a big dude. I mean, healthy. But he was sick for 3 weeks.
Man.
Then had the same thing else. I had another one of my buddies. He social distanced all the way up to this month. I helped him get a job at Amazon in HR, and a big time opportunity, trust me, very lucrative. But he was working from home.
Right.
Started working at Amazon. 3 weeks later, he was in the hospital for COVID.
Wow.
Interestingly enough, the guy who helped him get the job there lived in DC. While he was helping him get the job, he had COVID, was in the hospital. So right there, I've got 3 people in my circle who I know pretty well that caught COVID within a 2-month span of each other in different locations, okay? And for the most part, they had social distance until they got out in the field, either by airplane, going to the club, or working in a facility.
Wow.
So shot for me, it was no brainer. I'm gonna be around here. I got to take care of this child.
That makes sense. It's like you might as well be prepared.
Yeah.
If it works, I want to be first.
Yeah, there you go. And then too, what people don't understand is I did other research. I'm on PrEP as well. I don't know if you know what PrEP is, but PrEP is a drug. It's the blue pill that stops people from getting HIV. You take it once a day, and you will not get HIV. What I learned from that is that you also don't get the flu. You also don't have a problem with coronavirus. Studies are showing in Spain right now that people who take the drug actually have a reduced incidence of coronavirus. And now we're also learning that the same company that does remdesivir, Gilead, is the same company that makes PrEP, and they're using the same ingredients that coats the T cell in the remdesivir. The problem is you got to get the remdesivir early enough so that you don't end up with a high viral load of coronavirus, which they can't do anything about.
Right. That viral load is something else.
Basically, I mean, if you know anything about AIDS, you don't want to get a high viral load. I've seen that happen to people too.
Yeah.
So, do what you got to do to make sure you don't get that, and you will live. So that's where I'm at.
Okay. Another question I have: Do you feel while you're on this study, do you feel respected by the staff that you interact with?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, the girl who took my blood yesterday, I said, "Girl, you trying to get a pint of me? Because I ain't ever seen nobody take that much blood from my arm. I'm gonna tell you, this tube was that big." I said, and she did 2 of them. I was like, "Girl, you trying to really? I should get paid for this."
You're gonna need a nap.
Yeah. I mean, you gonna give me some iron pills after this to rebuild? I mean, this is crazy. So I was like, man. Whoa. It's the first time I actually looked at the blood and was like, are you serious? I could not. But I understand and looking for antibodies.
Did you get enough?
I get it. But man, that was worth $120, but maybe more. That
is hilarious. Oh my!
Yeah, it's the truth. That's what happened. So she was really cool. I enjoyed her personality. Matter of fact, I'm a Sigma, and she looked at me because I had my Sigma shirt on. She said, "I've always wanted to be a Zeta." I said, "Well, girl, I'm gonna take care of you." Already, she hooked up with me on Facebook. I've already linked her up with the Zetas. We're gonna make sure this good sister is fine.
We need more people like you on these trials, man. So do you think that? I guess my question: would you recommend these trials to a family or to your family members or friends?
I already have.
How do they?
I already recommended it. Yeah, I've already told them, like, yo, go for it. I told my sister, I was like, girl, you got 21 and 23-year-old kids. They be around you all the time. Mm-hmm. You 43. You know better. You need to go get that shot.
So do you? How do they feel about how do they?
Nope, ain't gonna do it.
I'm telling you, everyone that I talk to, it's like,
nope.
It's like, nope. I'm cool.
But you know why I understand? I mean, let's face it. We got to say we get it, but the problem is so far beyond just.
It is
the shot, man. You got to think through. Do you want to be here tomorrow? What's the issue? If you got an O blood type, I wouldn't get the shot. You're gonna be all right.
Yep.
You ain't gonna die from coronavirus. It'll be like the flu to you.
Yeah. So
but if you got an A blood type like me, asthma, and when you sit there and talk to people who had it, at work I had 15 positives. I have to bring them back to work. One man's 4-year-old daughter caught it. 4 years old. When you talk to them and they explain to you that on that 7th day, the same day they were talking about with Trump, that they woke up in the middle of the night, saw the Grim Reaper, in the morning, got all their passwords out, got their will out, put it on the table and said, tonight may be the last night.
That shot's
not cute. Give me that shot. Where's it at?
Get that shot. Yeah.
Go give me that shot. I'm not doing that. No.
I mean, but these are the stories that people need to hear, you know, to be honest with you. I think that, you know, our fear in our communities can also be the reason why we feel it the most. You know, I think that we have to get over that. And I understand. Like I said, I do understand Tuskegee, all that stuff that comes up every time I talk to people.
Sure.
I do understand. I think us being health professionals, like we understand the process. We understand.
Right.
We understand that they're not trying to get you. You know, that was a different time.
Right.
There are a lot of regulations in place. There are a lot of things that go into it. And I think being able to have more conversations around the topic is going to kind of soften the blow for people. Right. But I also think with the older generation, it's near impossible.
Absolutely. I called my uncle up in Cincinnati and I said, hey, Unc, yeah, they're about to register the last few people. What do you think? He says, call me in a year, maybe 2. Don't even think about it.
It tells you right there. So you got the wrong number.
Yeah. And my uncle was definitely truck driver, old school, brother, Cincinnati, not having it. not having it.
So I guess my last planned question for you would be, you know, in terms of, you know, minorities, what would you like to share with minorities, or what type of advice would you like to give to minorities, you know, that may be on you know, considering getting the vaccine? I know we pretty much touched on that, but, you know, just kind of a official.
Yeah, I think that what I would share with them. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. What I would share with them is do your research. Don't rely on hearsay. Become educated about 2021's healthcare system. Understand that the biotech field is the wave of the future. In a few years, I am optimistic that we're going to have a shot for a lot of cancers. In a few years, we're going to have a shot for HIV. And I will tell you that my son will be the first one to get it. I'm just saying. In a few years, we're going to have shots for the common cold that will last for an eternity. You won't get the common cold. Coronavirus is a form of the common cold. Educate yourself enough to know where science is moving and move with it.
Absolutely.
Get paid with it. Do Bitcoin with it. Stock with it. Figure out a way to come up with it. At the same care, take care of yourself and your family.
This isn't a question, but this is more of a funny experience that I had. I remember I was working, I run my own company, but I was working. My very first opportunity I had was, you know, helping get minorities to test out a razor, right? And it was set up as a trial. And I lie to you not, every single time they saw the biopsy piece, it was like, I'm good, man. I'm like, a razor. They're taking a little piece, just a little piece. They
Yeah.
It was like pulling teeth I mean, it was like, it was such a small biopsy off the cheek. It was like, it would have healed by tomorrow. And they're like, I'm cool, man. I'm like, you can make what, I forgot how much it was. It was like $600. It was, I'm just like,
you should have called me for that. You can take all this here for $600. Really? I mean, yeah.
but you know, it just really goes to speak to how challenging it can be.
Right.
You know, and I think it starts with for that particular opportunity in the budget, it was only for, you know, marketing and all that stuff. But I think at this point, we have to, as health professionals, we have to be willing to go to the communities and talk to the people face to face, and have these conversations where it's like, you can see me, you can ask me questions, you hear my voice, you know how I sound, like I'm just like you, but I've seen the other side. I know what it's like, and I think those discussions are important, especially when you're dealing with people that are like a hard no.
I can give you some examples of what would be a selling point, because I can see where you're headed with this. It would be nice if there was a service available that could actually educate the community in general about what it's like to really be sick with a particular illness, okay? And what really happens. I believe what people actually see on TV is a snippet of that. They haven't had the opportunity to feel, taste the emotional impact. And a lot of people have, don't get me wrong. Through this disease, a lot of people have. My blind brother lost his mother to COVID in April. I had to sit on the phone with him for 45 minutes while he cried, okay? She was in Detroit. He lives in Atlanta. It was terrible. And he got to see her, only because his cousin works at the hospital and she was a nurse. But I'm telling you, once you sit there and you actually talk to somebody about the decline and how fast it happens, at the end of that video, the emotional impact enough to help people understand, I need to look at this vaccine a little further. And then you go in to share that from my understanding, this vaccine has been in the works for 5 years. I don't know, is that about right?
Okay. Yeah. So
that's what I thought.
Yeah, when you look at like the trials and stuff, they've been studying this for some time now.
That's what I thought. I thought it was for a while. So what you want to do is give people the comfort to know that this is no fly-by-night product.
Right.
And Obama was around when this product was being developed.
Right.
So the minute I say that to people, they're like, "Oh, really?" I've said that to people, and they're like, "I'll at least take the number now."
They go. Let's call ClinArk. Let's see if we can.
Okay.
Take this video.
Well, let me at least take the number.
No.
But you have to kind of feed, and you got to kind of understand your audience. There are a lot of people who are thinking people, and there are a lot of feelers. There are a lot of people who are judgmental. There are a lot of people who are intuitive. There are a lot of people who are sensors like me, who can walk in a room and sense evil, good, and everything else at one time. But what you have to do is, as a consulting company where you're trying to get people there, you have to emotionally bring them there. Give them that reason to do it. Then give them the incentive, and then give them the comfort along the way to know that it's okay. Absolutely. I think that'll be your formula.
Absolutely. And you make a good point. And I actually preach along those lines all the time. We have to let people see the inside. We have to let people see.
Yeah.
Because I'll be on Facebook and I'm connected with people and I'll look at the little stories and I'm like, man, they're no mask, they're just out there. You look at this, you look at the stories. I'm just like, well, I won't be near that person.
It's true. I won't either. I mean, I'm with you.
Yeah, but it's like, you want to be prepared.
Yeah, absolutely.
You want to be prepared, and we have to get over. We do have to get over the fear. We really do. And that's not just for African Americans. That's across all minority groups. The
Latinos are feeling the same way.
I mean, when you look at the underrepresentation, they're actually joining the trials more than we are.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I would think they would be.
But we have to. Though I'm just saying, in terms of those that are scared to join the trials, we have to get over it. Because it's killing a lot of people. So
it is. Yeah.
We have. The insight that
you know what? I'll tell you too. Another thing that helped me to get to this point is when PrEP came out. I did my research for 6 months, and I talked to Atlanta's wild. Let's just face it. If you know Atlanta,
I lived there when I was a kid.
Okay, so I live in Atlanta. Okay, let me tell you, I'm a 47 single man. Okay, let me tell you, when I found out about PrEP, I was like, yo, where's it at? Let me find out more. And it took 6 months for me to be like, okay, all right. And then I saw, I talked to everybody. Like, some people said they had kidney issues. Some people said they had liver issues. Some people said they didn't have any problems at all. I said, okay. let me go. Let me just start and see what happens. When I got that first report back, which they do a lab result every 3 months, and I didn't see much of a change in my creatinine level, my liver was functioning fine. I was like, cool, taking it every day. And been on it every day for almost 2 years now. And I won't stop because I recognize the value of it. And knock on wood, I haven't been sick. I haven't been sick from the flu. I haven't been sick from nothing else that you could imagine that was viral. None of it. Did catch one bacterial infection, a sinus infection, but guess how I caught that? On my CPAP machine. So I learned that if you don't clean your CPAP machine every week, you get bacterial infections, right? So I knew it was bacterial.
Right. But you knew where it came from, so you were good. I mean,
absolutely. Yeah. Got my Z-Pack and I was done with it in a week. But that's how it works. You know, you have to recognize and be educated enough to know this is viral.
Absolutely.
This is bacterial. And when you don't have that education, it's a problem. Like my son, he's 11. I told him, I said, every time you come to my house, you're going to do this book. See this? It's called Anatomy and Physiology. You're going to learn every last single body part. And I promise you, by the time you're 16 or 17, I'm going to have you in nursing school. He's already got a scholarship to Morehouse at 11 years old. You're good. If you listen to me, I can get you there.
He already has a head start.
Well, his uncle's an attorney there. I mean, he got a legacy family.
He's good.
His cousin's there now. He's legacy family. He's got it.
He's good.
Right, he's good. Look, her mama went to Spelman. Her daughter's there now, pre-law. You good, but you're not gonna go over there and tell me you're gonna do pre-law. You're not gonna tell me you're gonna do political science because you want to be the president. No. You're gonna pull out this here.
I mean,
and you're gonna help these people.
And it's funny that you say that. I have my degree in biology, and
okay, good. So I want him to talk to you.
But it really gives you like in terms of the vaccine, like I know exactly what's happening. I know what they're trying to do. That's why I'm having this conversation with you. Like I know that people aren't trying to gather people to kill them. Like and I know
exactly.
But I also know like in our community, that's kind of along the lines that people are thinking. But it's like I if people understand science, they'll understand what's going on. They'll understand why it's important.
Bingo. I told my son, this is your coronavirus. This is exactly the proteins that are going to bind to your T cells. And it will cut that sucker open on side the nucleus and cut right in here and take over that DNA and then replicate itself and bust a new virus. I said, and I had him do every last single part of this and explain it to me. You got a phone? I pay for it. Let's see what you can use it for.
Hey, parents, if you so happen to watch this video, anybody in the community, if you watch this video, I need you to take some pointers. I really need you to look at this and digest all of this and really go out and take the time to read the stuff that's going on, read the science, understand the science. I mean, there are days where I may not understand something. I'll go and pull open the scientific journal. You don't have to understand everything. If you got to, skip down to the conclusion and they'll tell you most of the stuff, but really take the time to just understand, what's just understand. And because it really is a misunderstanding.
Right.
Now, like, don't get me wrong, Tuskegee was messed up. I'm not going to ever say that wasn't wrong.
It was wrong. Right.
But like I said, there are regulations in place and science is way different than what it was before.
Absolutely. And you also think a lot of us are there with them.
Exactly.
A lot of us are there.
Exactly.
When I walked into that office, majority of people supported me were Black people.
Mm-hmm. And I think you make a great point. One of the things so the way I've constructed my company is that I'm trying to give more minorities, the opportunity to get to experience clinical research. And I think that's also important in terms of interacting with individuals, from different communities. Because if I see someone that doesn't look like me and they're about to give me a shot or whatever, I'm gonna, naturally it's like I don't know, I'm a little skeptical. But if you go and walk into a doctor's office and it's all Hispanics or Native Americans or whatever your skin color is or whatever your ethnicity is, I think it's gonna be a lot easier for you to it's not gonna take away too much of you're still gonna be a little hesitant, but I think it'll be a lot easier for you to receive the information that they're gonna.
That's a 100% great point. Having come from Cincinnati, where there was a lot of mistrust, and I believe rightfully so, and coming to the South, I've noticed some things. Majority of my doctors have been minority, although I do go to my primary care physician is a white female, and I absolutely love her. She's just fantastic. But she's also a nurse practitioner, and she knows I'm educated enough to say, don't give me that. I need this. I need that. She's like, okay. And she backs off because she knows it ain't going to happen. Okay. So, but she gives me what I want. And that's what it comes down to, is being educated enough to know that part. And you can use anybody to do your healthcare work for you. And that's why I want my son to be a physician, because at the end of the day, I want him and his friends to come up with ways to eradicate these things from getting even close to us.
And you know what? We need more Black doctors. We need more minority doctors across the board.
We do.
Because that's one of the ways that we're going to be able to really get some of this mistrust out of the way. Because I like to look at it from this perspective. When a lot of the stuff that we hear in our communities is through word of mouth. So it's like if you have a bunch of doctors in the community, chances are not going to be, people are going to trust what you're bringing to them, because, their uncle's a doctor, their, aunt's a doctor, their sister's a doctor, so it's like, sure, man, I'll go to the doctor, get this done, whatever.
Right.
So it's, but there's so few of us that it's like, how do we, you got to create options,
You do. But there's a lot of us here, I think, and that's the beauty of being in Atlanta, Georgia, is that there's a plethora of what you should, I would say, the example of where you want to go right in front of you.
Right.
And you don't have that everywhere in America. Right. Let's face it. This is the Accra of the country. Yes. This is the Nigeria of the country. When I go and visit every city in the United States, which I've visited just about every last single city in the United States, except for Portland and Minneapolis. I've been to all of them. There's been none that's been more professional and I would say more forthcoming with minority professionals than Atlanta, Georgia. I just haven't seen it. Not even Washington, D.C. could even compare.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge difference for us, because it becomes one of those places where you can become easily complacent. Okay. Because on the opposite side, you got that on the next corner. Okay. So you sometimes take advantage of it because it's right around the corner. But then on the other side, if you're smart, you recognize that the heart stent was invented in Atlanta, Georgia, right, at Emory University. Yeah. And now they practice it at Grady. Yeah, absolutely. And I believe that was invented by Secretary of Department Hood. I believe he did it. But it was at Emory. And when you think about all of the stuff that they've done over time to make science better, my ex-wife's grandmother lived to be 94 years old on a heart stent.
Wow, that is impressive. But that's
got the heart stent 20 years ago.
That's why science is important. That's why you need to trust.
Exactly.
That's why.
Exactly.
Why you need to. That's why you have to. You need to trust science. Science.
I agree.
Not your enemy.
Right. Well, and then too, there's a spiritual aspect to this as well. I used to be a minister for many, many years, and I've always known, and God even tells you, be careful what is bad, but trust in what is good. Mm-hmm. This is good. Anytime you have something that's saving somebody's life, it's good.
Right.
That could be your answer.
Right.
So you have to believe your prayers are going to be answered through some sort of physical means if Jesus is not right in front of you. Listen.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Well, I thank you so much for joining the show and being able to talk with me. It's been a pleasure. The insight, your experience that you've been able to share is just invaluable. I think a lot of researchers that see this it's going to be eye-opening. They may even say, "Hey, man, Atlanta, like let's think about that." So it's just it's very valuable. And also for community members that see it too, it's like people need to understand how important science is. So again, I thank you so much.
Sure.
I won't keep you too long. I know.
No problem.
I know it's carrying over, but I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you very much. I appreciate the experience.